morning and welcome to the Red Net Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Edgar, and we've got a substitute sitting in on the other side of the screen today. Welcome, Stiletto Ninja, Linda, back to the channel after, what's it been, a year and a half at this point?
I know it's been a while, but I'm not the Stiletto Ninja anymore, baby. I'm some kind of ninja fool.
I'm just going by what it says down in the corner there, but yeah, absolutely. Welcome back to the channel here. You are sitting in because there was another family emergency that cropped up that I'm not at liberty to talk about over in the Elaine household, but our prayers are with her right now and her family, and that's pretty much all that I can say at this point here. So thank you for stepping in and hanging out and helping out. I know
Absolutely.
I threw a lot of news at you at the very last second.
Whatever. I live in chaos. That's where I perform my best. So thoughts and prayers and lots of love to Elaine, too.
It is definitely almost like they don't want us to talk about Chauvin this week because they shoved a whole bunch of other shit into the news cycle.
No doubt.
But we're going to talk about all of it. We're going to get through that and everything else here. Before we get started, though, and before we go into any of the news, tell any of the new audience members a little bit about you, because we were still sub 200 subs last time you were here, and now we're knocking on the door of 300. So a lot of new faces are going to be here as well. So tell some more people about you and about where you come from.
Okay, well, welcome new subscribers. I really hope you enjoy the show and are not just tuning in for the. My name is Linda. A native upstate New Yorker, central New Yorker, live in North Carolina, kind of a culture shock, but I joined Twitter as an AOC parody. This was prior to the election, and once she got elected, she became her own parody, and so I had to kind of give that up, and I just became myself, sort of. The Stiletto Ninja is what I went by, but my name is Linda. And now I'm some kind of ninja fool, and I do, I'm a little bit funny, sometimes not so much. I do a little bit of writing, I do a little bit of singing, and I'm getting my website up and running soon, hopefully, because I'm very crafty and I like to make shit and, sell stuff. And I like
You
to
really
laugh.
haven't watched the show for a while, have you?
Can you swear now?
Oh, you could swear the first time, but I say much, much worse off of this.
Awesome. I wasn't sure. But yeah, and I do have the mouth of a sailor, which is good. I just got back from vacation. I visited my brother in upstate New York, and he was in the Navy, and he is definitely a sailor. So I get my curse words from him. But anyway. Oh, and I'll be on your live show Saturday, Linda Blau.
Yeah, we are definitely still working out the times for that, but this whole thing that just happened over in Elaine's family kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into things too. So
Yeah.
I've got a feeling I'm going into Saturday playing it by ear, but I have been planning this for a month.
I'm with you. I'm committed. I'm here for you, always.
If I have to sit in this chair for 24 hours straight, I guess I'm getting a bottle.
I mean, listen, it's not hard to insert your own catheter, and honestly, don't do that. I'm kidding. I'm joking. But I would help you if you had to go pee. I would take over and introduce somebody. I'm here for you.
I can tell you this: I don't get a lot of my news from Fox anymore, so I know nothing about catheters anymore.
Oh, burn! I've not watched Fox in forever.
I use them every once in a while, but they're a pain in the ass because they autoplay, especially like when we're doing contemporary in the morning. They autoplay everything, so every time you open up one of their articles, whoop, you get the music and some idiot over there talking. Usually it's Tucker Carlson, and I can't stand him.
What? I love Tucker. I mean, he's ridiculous, but I love his enthusiasm. He's very polite when
he's also my competition, so.
Okay. I love you, Ed. Start wearing bow tie. Bring the bow tie back.
I might. Well, we got to get into the news here because there's just so much
Yeah.
here. The Chauvin trial continues this week, so we'll talk a bit about what the end of the prosecution looked like before some speculation as to what the defense possibly could. And Steven Crowder got into a little bit of trouble this week over the Chauvin trial, so we'll watch a little bit of video and see what it is that he felt the need to do. And we'll go from there and get some opinions on that. Biden issued a major set of executive orders on guns this week, and he also added the head of the ATF, somebody who was very closely associated with the Waco trial. I found out, not the trial, but the Waco attack this week. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there and what that means for us going on, and everything else that's happening with that. And as usual, because Congress is trying to push a bunch of gun legislation and executive orders, we have had mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. It's
No.
almost like it was planned, but I don't have that much tinfoil on my head. You can go find my friend Steve Ignoramus, and he'll probably be able to tell you a little bit about those kinds of theories. But we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. The infrastructure saga continues, including Gillibrand coming out with a major gaffe in tweet form that we'll talk about and look at the tweet as well. Some of the details of the infrastructure package that have come out. Buttigieg got his name into the news as well, talking a bit about what is going to be in infrastructure and a lot more of that. The border. We will talk about the border this week because I keep cutting that for time over and over again. We might actually cut it for time again, but I'm going to make it a concerted effort because I'm not going to be like the mainstream media and just not talk
Nobody
about the
wants to
border.
go to the border. Sorry, go
So,
ahead.
so we will talk about what's going on there, including Mayorkas coming out and floating the idea of building the wall. And,
What?
Yeah, and Alejandro Mayorkas says that, hey, we might have to finish that wall after all. And the Biden admin, under the watchful eye of Kamala Harris, has also come out and said that, hey, maybe the best way to keep people from coming here is to give cash payments to the countries that they're coming from. So we'll talk a bit about that. The filibuster in the Supreme Court came into the news this week because Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin have both dug their heels in on keeping the filibuster in place. And Biden issued another executive order forming an exploratory committee as to how to reform the Supreme Court. Lastly, if we can actually get to it, which hopefully we can, Matt Gaetz is still in the news, and more shit's coming up about him, and I don't really know where to go with it because if it's true, he's fucked, and if it's not, somebody else is fucked in his place. But we'll talk a bit about there. Plus, Katie Hill got involved in that argument as well. Plus, I got a pair, two of them, not just one today, two surprise stupidities for you,
Oh, I cannot wait.
which are both
I
hilarious.
cannot wait. Okay, well,
I have
that's
read
my
them
answer.
both on Contemporary, and they are both hilarious.
That's for me.
So
Let's
it's
do
going to
it.
be all this and more over on the Red Ned Show. Thank you for checking us out live over on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook, and Trovo as well. You can check us out on any of those channels, linked in the description below. So go ahead and hang out at any of those. If YouTube is not your style, or DLive or anything else is not your style, you've got plenty of options of places to watch us. Or if you would rather catch us back on demand, you can't catch us live, you can find us over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. You can check us out. Both of those are linked in the description as well. So you can go hang out over there. BitChute is a great site. It's still rising up, and everybody should go and check that out. It is mostly political, though, so you're not going to get your how to fix your car videos on there. But hey, the more people we get over there, the more we can grow into that territory as well. And if you'd rather take us on the go, you can find us over on audio platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Or if you'd rather take us on another audio platform, you just have to let me know what it is, and I will try to get us into there because I want you to have the opportunity. Wherever you go, I want you to be able to take the Red Ned Show. So go ahead and check us out over there. If you're over on iTunes, leave us that 5-star rating and a good review. That helps us move up the charts. And lastly, on April 17th, we will be debuting the brand new freedomscoop.com website. It's going to have a lot of new features. We're going to try and get some more writing in there. We've got some new on-site tech guys because our normal tech guy joined the RNC and he can't really put out the time to get everything fixed anymore. So we've got some brand new guys on site. It's going to be a great website, and we're constantly going to be improving, including a new payment processor to help you directly support creators. So rather than subscribing through a Subscribestar or a Patreon, you can just support our creators directly as well. So go over there, check them out. You can check out my friends, The Generational Gap, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and the Daily Ignoramus all over on freedomscoop.com. Everybody's staying. It's going to be a great channel and it's going to be a great experience. And we look forward to seeing you on April 17th for 24 hours, midnight to midnight, for suicide prevention. I just got the details ironed out, and the regional director for AFSP will be sitting in with us and telling us about where the money's going to be going. We're looking for a generous goal of $2,500 because I'm getting a haircut if they get to 2,500 bucks.
Let's do it. Shave it off.
I'm not shaving it off, but I am going to get a haircut. I'm going to look actually presentable again. Well, we are going to be robbing from one charity to go to the other because I am going to. I'm growing my hair right now for Locks for Love, so give it to cancer patients. But you know what? If you guys can get to 2,500 bucks, I'll start all over again. Absolutely.
Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah. All my followers, I mean, shoot, I could get to 1,500 right there if everybody give $1, right?
Yeah, there's that. And at 1250, that hairy beast over on the generational gap, John said he'll shave his beard for the first time since he was in high school.
What?
And he's kind of messy, so maybe we should try to get to that as well.
That's crazy. Yeah, beards are important. I've learned this. I don't get it, but okay.
Well, let's talk about some of the, the elephant is in the room. We can't avoid it anymore. We looked at this, and in the midst of the Chauvin trial, just miles away from where it was, and I actually did double check because I didn't know this morning exactly where Brooklyn Center is, but I do know now. They're just a couple miles away from where the courthouse is in Minneapolis. There was another shooting. From NPR News, 1 dead in police shooting in Brooklyn Center, tear gas deployed to clear protesters. So I was reading about this morning, and it appears that Daunte Wright was traffic stopped for having air fresheners in his rearview mirror, which actually is a reason for them to stop you in Minnesota. I know it's happened to me because I grew up on the border of Minnesota. They also checked. They found by his plates that there were warrants out for Wright. It looks like they tried to bring him into custody. He got back into the car, was shot but not killed immediately, and then he turned around and crashed his car, which ended his life. There are a lot of details floating around about this. The mother was able to identify that she was talking to the girlfriend right before it all happened. His girlfriend was in the car with him. Right now, it is looking like it's possibly an accidental discharge, which would be involuntary manslaughter. But, I mean, even before any of the details out, they were already gathering. The protesters were all only just a couple miles away, so they were already gathering. They were already protesting at both the Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park police departments in Minnesota. So,
Sure.
the tear gas is out.
I'm sorry I apologize for interrupting. Is this the one where it was an accidental discharge? He thought he was discharging his taser, but it was, or is that something different?
No, that's the one.
I read so much. Okay. This is so crazy. Can I just interject a little opinion here?
What's up?
So I think this Neil Gorsuch said, I don't remember what what case he was talking about, but he said, there are a lot of outdated laws. There are a lot of laws that are begging basically to lock people up. And it seemed really a traffic stop for an air freshener in the rearview mirror. You're telling me that this is because you live there, so you're telling me I can't believe this. What? Why? I can't even get into okay, the protesters are there. Everything's heated. Everything's, on 12. Anyway, how do you just, oh my God. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't even form a coherent sentence on that, but you can get pulled over for having an air freshener hanging from your rearview mirror.
Yes. And I know this because I was actually, we were doing something. What the hell were we doing in my truck? We were doing something in my truck. It was back when I was in high school. I think I was changing out a head gasket because I popped one. It was a fresh engine, and it was some of that stuff. But we were changing out the head gasket in my truck, so I took my mom's truck over, and she had a clown hanging in the windshield or in the rearview mirror, and I got about 10 miles down Highway 61, and there was the Minnesota State Trooper.
This is crazy, Ed. Do you know what I have hanging from my rearview mirror? I have a best friend. Her name is Megan. And we've always called ourselves Thelma and Louise. She's Thelma because she's really, you know, uh, she's an idiot basically. But and I'm Louise, I'm the badass. So I have Louise hang. Can you imagine if I got pulled over for that shit and somebody shot me dead for, oh gosh. Go
Well,
ahead.
I actually looked up and I found the video of the body cam footage, but I put it over on the Clips channel, and well, let's just say YouTube doesn't want you watching that.
No.
So we didn't put it on the main channel. I've got a
Uh-huh.
separate channel where I test stuff. But I do
Uh-huh.
have the presser from CNN. I got about a minute of that, so let's have a listen to what that sounded like.
Cool.
Purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I've viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright. I have asked the BCA to conduct an independent investigation into the shooting and death. Once they are completed, I expect they will submit their findings, independent of me, to the appropriate authorities, the appropriate attorneys that will look and review this case. I'm also stressing that I do hope for the community to be patient and allow this criminal investigation, to be completed as thoroughly as possible, purposefully and as trained.
So that's what Chief Tim Gannon has to say about the situation. But I do want to take a second and talk a bit about the riots that came up with this as well. So reading from the Blaze, who just started putting ad blocker notices back up today, I noticed, and I'm not happy about, but we can talk about Glenn Beck's money greed forever if we want to. But massive crowd riots after officer-involved shooting near Minneapolis. The vast crowd of 100 to 200 people marched towards the Brooklyn Center Police Department near Minneapolis on Sunday evening following an officer-involved shooting, NBC News reports. Police fatally shot a black motorist during a Sunday traffic stop, sparking riots just miles from where George Floyd took his last breath in May. It appears that there has been tear gas. There have been rocks thrown at police officers, tear gas shot back at them, rubber bullets. Doesn't look like there have been any arrests so far. There was an 8 p.m. curfew imposed in Brooklyn Park, and that expired at 6 o'clock this morning. No word as of right now whether or not there are going to be any more protests coming back with this. But, of course, everybody was down in the George Floyd Autonomous Zone just a few miles away from here. So it was like
Yeah,
nothing for them to get there.
sure. This is crazy. This is great. Look, the right to protest, right? That's a fundamental. That's our God-given rights protected by the Constitution, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you see an injustice or what you perceive as an injustice, of course, I think that, it's not only a right, it's your responsibility to protest, but we don't do that anymore. We really don't do that anymore. We react and we react violently. And I'm not a tinfoil hat person either. I'm a pretty level headed person and try to have a thoughtful perspective and see things from both sides. However, I sometimes there's little doubt in my mind that there are, little people in there just kind of meant to instigate the crowds, because what's meant to be a peaceful protest often turns into a very non-peaceful, I don't know what you want to call it, riot, I guess. But if people are throwing rocks and things like that, where does that come from? Obviously, emotions are high,
Yeah.
no doubt. And that's that's been for the past year, and it's probably going to be for a long time in your area. However, all it takes, that's kind of like the crowd effect. All it takes is one thing
Hmm.
to kind of, push everything over the edge, and people, it's a crowd response. But
Well, there's probably going to be more of this. Like I said, this was just breaking on Sunday, and I wanted to talk about this while we were talking about the guns and every other mass shooting that's happened this week. But because this was so recently breaking, I wanted to cover this right up off the top. But in other news that we have this week, little Greta Thunberg has said that she's going to skip the UN climate conference over vaccine inequality. This comes to us from over at The Hill. Teen climate change activist Greta Thunberg on Friday stated that she will not be attending the United Nations Climate Conference, which is scheduled to be held in Scotland this November, citing concerns about the inequality in access that some countries have to COVID-19 vaccines. How dare you? How dare you?
Okay, wait. How old is Greta now?
I think she's 19.
Okay, so
She's
she's not
18
a
or 19.
I object to her parents allowing her to take a public platform when she was underage. She's of age now, okay, so she can take some criticism, but okay.
Wait, you object to
Greta,
something from her? How dare you? You stole
Greta
my
has-
dreams. How dare you?
I'm just, you know, I'm a white supremacist. I'm so sorry, Greta. Greta's got an opinion. Okay, great. I don't see why it's, she's not. I have an opinion too. I mean, so I'm not going. What's Listen, the idea behind the racial inequality the racial inequality of the COVID vaccine. This is usually toward populations like the United States, Great Britain, where Caucasians are the majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in some area, I mean, there's talk about, okay, well, don't worry about the age, okay, because it's not diversified enough. So we're just gonna do this group of people because they're more likely to be, this race or this, minority, whatever. We have abandoned all sensibility. Forget about COVID. Like, yeah, let's quarantine the healthy. Forget about that aspect. But when does it stop? When do we just look at? I hate to say it. When do we follow the science? The people who are saying follow the science are not following the science. And, a big part of science is actually open discussion and sharing of ideas and, differing opinions, but we don't want to talk about that. But Greta Thunberg has an opinion and is not going to an event. Who gives a flying fuck? I don't care.
Apparently The Hill, because they felt the need to write about it.
Well, congratulations.
How dare you?
Congratulations.
Did you see Tom Cotton's little stunt this week?
I don't get him.
Tom Cotton tweets out, "We have a major under-incarceration problem in America, and it's only getting worse." And I agree with Tom Cotton. We have a major under-incarceration problem. We have exactly one too few Tom Cottons incarcerated in this country.
Boom, Ed, mic drop. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Daily Wire reports, Tom Cotton says we have a major under-incarceration problem, sparks huge backlash. Senator Cotton is facing a severe backlash online after he shared a CNN article on the rise of significant crime alongside the tweet, "We have a major under-incarceration problem in America, and it's only getting worse." And especially coming from someone like Cotton, that actually bothers me quite a bit based on the fact that he just wants people incarcerated, which also makes me wonder what his motives are. Now, if we can address some of the root causes of the fact that there's so much goddamn crime in this country, including the fact that there's so many laws on the books that don't involve not hurting people and not taking their stuff, that's a different story. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he worded this the wrong way, but still, come on, man.
Okay, so yeah, Congress people, senators, and House of Representatives, social media is just a bad idea. They need to have their PR people talk for them and leave it at that. I can't. Look, President Trump did a lot of good things, but I can't. I'm not a a trumpet, whatever we're called. He was it was very distasteful that he came to social media all the time just to, bark out bullshit, right? But everybody else followed suit. And like we've got the Ted Cruz and Andrew, everybody's doing it, right? Especially AOC. So glad I dropped her. But I think that people just need to, please write a bill, draft a bill, get it sponsored, send it, do your job. Stop bitching about stop it. Just do your job. This is what we've become. We've become the reason that the mob rules, the reason we want to get rid of all of that is this republic and turn it into a democracy is because legislators don't legislate anymore. They bitch and moan, and that's all that they do. Jim Jordan's a great example. All he does is bitch and moan about what the left wants or doesn't want. Like, great, Jim, we get it. You've been saying this for 4 years. Let's do something. Let's do something. Do something. Don't talk about stuff. Do something. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
We'll see what goes with that there, but I could see definitely incarcerating Tom Cotton himself over a lot of the stuff that he's doing, especially what he's doing off of that. But yeah, the answer is not just putting more people in jail. The answer is addressing the problems, including the boot of the federal government down on all these people.
Mm-hmm.
I take this straight from a libertarian standpoint. There is too much goddamn government, and it is keeping people unable to rise up, and they need to turn to crime.
I agree with you 100%. I don't consider myself like affiliated with any party anymore, but yeah, I do lean more libertarian in that sense because our government has just gotten too powerful, too big. We spend too much money on positions and committees and whatever that we just don't need, and it's just intrusive. And once they're in your life, Ed, you can't get them out of your life.
So, yeah, I was engaged to a girl like that.
What'd you just say to me?
I said I was engaged to a girl like that.
Oh, ouch.
Did you see this one out of Edmonton, out of Canada, our neighbors to the north today? Christians tore down the fences around the shuttered Canadian church. The government sends in 200 riot police. So this is a follow-up to something that I intended to read on Friday, but we ran out of time for on Contemporary. But there was a church in Edmonton where they kept flouting the COVID rules, so they sent in the police to put a great big fence and some felt cloth on the fence so you couldn't even look in on the churchyard. And the protesters came out to protest peacefully, and then on Sunday they decided it wasn't enough and they started tearing the fence down.
This was this the video of the guy who was like, "Get out, you Nazis," and I'm not.
No, I thought that was it too, and it wasn't. It was a different one.
Okay. Regardless, same idea though. Give me a break. Yeah. I know it's Canada. I don't know their legal system. I don't know what the government can and cannot do, but I don't know. It hurts when I hear about people being prevented from worshiping in a church. I don't care what your religion, your mosque, your temple, regardless. Yeah. Damn right, tear down the fences. Damn right. I mean, you do not need a building to be a church. We are the church, right? People, the congregation. But what is it saying? That the government can just build a fence around your place of worship so that you'll keep out, so that you'll follow the COVID restrictions?
Yeah.
With a 98% survival rate? Okay. I don't, that's not okay. Why are people not mad about that? I mean, obviously we are, but you know what I mean? The loud people.
I don't know, but that's one of the things that came up out of this. Did you see this thing from Jordan Peterson this week?
I did. I love him. Mm-hmm.
So, Jordan Peterson has reacted this week to the fact that Ta-Nehisi Coates has essentially put him into Captain America, but they've done so as the Red Skull, the Nazi villain that was the head of Hydra. Right. Now, he didn't come out and say, "Oh, this is this is Red Skull's new identity. He's Dr. Peterson." But they did show. Let's get the picture up here. The picture of the Red Skull in front of the book, 10 Rules for Life, rather than 12 Rules for Life. Other book titles that came up with this are Chaos and Order, Carl Luger's Genius and The Feminist Trap, which sounds mysteriously like various other titles from The Good Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Peterson has reacted to this. He's on Twitter. He has shared the scenes from the Volume 9, number 28 comic, and said Coates had used a parody of Peterson's ideas as part of the philosophy of the arch-villain Red Skull, which, I mean, would you go out and, again, start calling everybody that you don't like a Nazi? Where does that
Right.
word go? I mean, this isn't like, okay, Val, we will take you where you do not want to go, and we will put you in the showers if we do not like what you have to say, and compare that to, okay, well, you should be responsible for yourself and clean your damn room.
Right. So I think Ben Shapiro, I read his tweet, I like the way he responded. It's like, okay, Jordan Peterson's advocating for men to, kind of tidy up after themselves, but that makes him a Nazi or the Red Skull. And I'm sorry, but oh gosh, I'm such an Avengers fan, and I'm just so pissed off because I mean, Jordan Peterson, he's kind of wacky, but I mean, honestly, I do agree with him on a lot of things. It's just a school of thought. He follows a lot of Jung, I think,
Mhm.
but get a grip. We're not Nazis, but God, to bring the Red Skull into it was just. He was. I mean, I would have said the same thing. Is this where we are? Really? Whatever.
Well, that's what we're seeing from that. Let's keep going because we're already getting up on the clock here. So, Amazon has defeated the Union in Alabama. So, as we saw down in Alabama when they opened up the new Amazon warehouse in, let me see if I can remember where this is. Bessemer, down in Bessemer, Alabama. When they put the new fulfillment center in, the unions came out. This was the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, tried to come in and unionize, and Amazon said, you know what? We'll put it up to a vote. Well, the union lost that vote handily. As of the time of the article that I have in here, there were 3,215 ballots cast. And at the time of counting, there were 1,100 votes against unionization and 463 votes in support. The preliminary results puts Amazon ahead by more than a 2-to-1 margin. And there were so many people that were pissed off about this. I actually wanted to talk about this just briefly, but I couldn't fit it into a main topic. But just briefly off the fact of just how people were reacting to the fact that this happened. Because, you listen to it, especially nonstop on Twitter and on regular media, everywhere, how the Democrats are the party of the workers, and we love the workers, and we're going to do anything for the workers. But as soon as they found out that the workers voted against the unionization, is all these fucking stupid rubes. Why the hell would they ever vote against their own interests? Fuck these people.
Well, that's what people have been saying about Black Republicans for, unions are not pro worker. They're pro money. They're pro profit. That's period. People are not stupid. People are waking up. People are seeing what's going on. That's why they voted against it. Unions are there to collect dues and hang you out to dry. Period. And it's honestly, all they do is guarantee people who do shit jobs the ability to keep their job forever.
And I've never had a problem with people unionizing. It's the methodology that the unions are using now because, first off, these union bosses are getting major kickbacks from both the company and from their union dues of the workers. So the union leader comes out with a brand new Corvette and then looks to the union worker and says, well, enjoy your 5-cent raise that I just got you.
Right.
Whereas if you go back to where it used to be, and I come from a union household, keep in mind, my mom was raised by a union worker. My dad is a union worker who was raised by a union worker.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the other side of this too, but really, your union is being paid by your company's payroll department, and you think they're really going to fight that hard against your company?
Yeah, I don't know. I get the idea behind union was for protect a worker. I mean, absolutely, and that's a good thing. But follow the money. Who's making bank? I think that's a good rule of thumb for pretty much anything. And I don't know if you're segueing into the BLM lady, but I mean, it's the same. It's the same situation there.
I actually had that a little bit further down, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a bit. I wanted to talk about United Airlines for just a second because they got into the news this week with this tweet. Let's flip that up here. Our flight deck should reflect the diverse group of people on board our planes every day. That's why we plan for 50% of the 5,000 pilots we train in the next decade to be women or people of color. Learn more and apply now. I'm
Great.
sorry, I don't really care what's between the pilot's legs or what the color of the person's skin are. Can you read the instruments? Can you fly the plane? Because I'd like to make it back to the ground, please.
I think that's a general consensus. Please just get me from A to B. I'm fine with the flight attendant telling me what's happening. It's usually the co-pilot anyway talking. I mean, who gives a flying F what the pilot looks like? I am all for anybody going after their dream.
Wow.
But how many people dream of being a pilot? I mean, that's where it is. Great, but why haven't you? My nephew's a pilot, just so you know.
These. That's why.
Get out of town. Are you blind? I'm totally blind without my glasses.
You.
No.
When I talked to the recruiter about it, I was told that I had to have 20/20 vision to be a pilot,
Okay.
which I do
I
not.
don't know. He might, but no, my nephew's a pilot. He went to school out in, I don't know, Montana, North Dakota, one of them flyover states. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I honestly don't know where the flight school is, but he's a pilot. He's got his pilot's license. But I mean, in his class, yeah. How many people are women? Zero. How many people are minorities? Zero. There's an opportunity there. It's not like anybody's preventing it, but why aren't people applying for this?
Well, and that's one of the things that I cover too. Is I mean, if you want more people to do that, instead of putting artificial restrictions, do better jobs at recruitment. Go into some of these places where you wouldn't
Yeah.
normally send a recruiter and go into that.
Mhm.
If that's your goal, then go that route. Don't just go and say, okay, well, we're just going to admit X amount of people, and if we don't get this many of this demographic in, then we're not going to admit this many people who actually want to go back and do this.
Mhm. And it's funny too because if you send, let's get it, if you want more African Americans as pilots, you send an African American pilot into the inner cities with a largely African American population into the schools to speak to people. And I say the same thing about teachers. We need more positive role models in teachers, African American men, right? There are very few who are teachers.
Hmm.
But if you have a good one who can influence others to become good ones. It's all about where are you putting your focus? Stop telling white people to quit being white. Whatever your intended goal is, nurture that, cultivate that, plant those seeds where you want them to grow, not over in, the suburbs. I mean, not to be racist. Black people live in the suburbs too. I'm just saying if you want a certain population to be more interested in whatever, then you need to meet them where they are.
Hmm.
Period.
Arkansas had a little bit of an up and down this week. So the Arkansas Congress came out with a bill that said there was a lot of things that went along with this bill. The gist of it was there was more to it than this, but the basic gist of it was they were going to criminalize the practice of hormone treatments and surgeries for transgender youth until they were 19, which I thought it would have been 18, but until they were 19 across the board, so even with parental consent. Now, the Arkansas governor came back and said that he was going to veto this, and then once he vetoed it, the Senate and the House together with a simple majority, because that's the way their state charter is written, were able to go back and override the veto, and this is now law in Arkansas. Now, it's been my thought reading into this that this is possibly a challenge that they are intending not to enforce, but something to take to the Supreme Court so they can get court precedent on it. But I'm kind of in the favor of the Congress on the fact of the age limit thing. Like once you're grown, that's something entirely different. But it's not just that, and it's not just the parental consent. I know that in a lot of these situations, if you go out to, like, if the kid goes to the school doctor and says, I feel like I'm the opposite gender, I need to get onto hormones, they can go behind the parents' back and get onto them anyway, which I'm not a fan of because the parents are supposed to be responsible. Now, if the kid's emancipated, that's a different story as well. But I know that you've had something to weigh in on this as well.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and some of your viewers may not be, but I am a mother of two children, one who had a stroke, the other is transgender, biologically born female, identifies as male. And I'm going to get this out of the way. I really don't give a fuck what people think about transgenderism as a whole. There is science behind it. I'm in the field of medicine. So having said that, I'm sick and tired of under the guise of freedom taking away protection of children. There should be no circumstance in which I have to give permission for my child to get their ear pierced. I have to give permission for my child to get a tattoo. I have to give permission for my child to go on a fucking field trip at school. My child should not be able to get birth control, abortion, gender confirming, any kind of treatment without my consent, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, no life-changing event, nothing irreversible should ever be done by a child to a child on behalf of a child, point blank and period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't feel that 19 is old enough, if I'm being honest, because let's face it, what does the science say? When do our brains fully form to be able to foresee the consequences of our actions? It's not till our mid to late 20s. I'm not going to, say, well, then we need to start, putting age restrictions on all that. But 18 is a reasonable age. That's when the most states recognize adulthood.
That's when you're responsible for your own actions, too.
Correct. But it opens the door to too many other things. But I just want to be very clear about my opinion as a mother of a transgender child. In no way, shape, or form should any child, whether they have parents or not, because I have been an honorary parent to a lot of street kids who are trans and have been thrown out, discarded from their families. What they need is love. What they need is their community. They need go volunteer for an LGBT or pride, whatever. Get involved in do something. The last thing that they need is a medical procedure. Mm-hmm. The last thing that they need is is some irreversible decision. Think about that. Irreversible, cannot be undone. Once it's done, it's done. Get them mental health, get them support, give them love. That is all that we should be doing for these children, period. There should be zero medical intervention, especially without parent involvement, for anyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, irreversible. Yeah. I'm fine with birth control and things like that to stop. But yeah, that's 100% my opinion. And I say this because I know a lot of kids and I know a lot of adults in the trans community, the LGBT community, because I'm an advocate. I have to advocate for my children, and it's just not okay. And so, shame on that government, but I'm glad that the legislation is going to get passed. Maybe it's just to get it to the Supreme Court. I don't care. In the meantime, I hope it puts a pause on that, on any juvenile youth.
Well, and it's Arkansas too, of all places. Like, I could see something like that being more obviously they wouldn't do something like that in New York, but I mean, you understand what it's like to live in the South.
Yes, I do.
It's not as prevalent in some of the more rural areas. And I mean, you live in a city too, don't you? So probably a bit more of a urban setting than full on rural Arkansas.
Right. Right. But let's just say it's not that it's not prevalent, it's not talked about.
Hmm.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. People don't always have a name for it. But yeah, Arkansas is that's a surprising state. 100%.
Well,
That's a surprising move by an Arkansas governor.
well, that's once again why I'm thinking that's time they're trying to get it to the Supreme Court, not necessarily enforce it. Hey, you remember those two teenagers from Washington, D.C. that killed the Uber Eats guy and then went in and said, oh shit, I forgot my phone?
Sure do.
Yeah, they're getting a plea deal at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Reading from the New York Post, the two teens, ages 13 and 15, have been charged with felony murder, but they will be pleading out. Under D.C. law, the 13-year-old can't even be charged as an adult, even in a murder case. According to the Post, the 15-year-old suspect could be charged as an adult, but that would increase the burden of proof on prosecutors, the report said. So, from the looks of this, and reading a little bit more into this, it looks like this is going to be a situation of procedural rather than just okay, these girls killed somebody, so we're just going to cut them loose because of politics. There's a lot of procedural things that go along with this, and this is a mess.
Well, it is a mess, and I'm gonna just say I disagree with a lot of the loud voices. I don't think, again, they're children. I can't see, they yeah, what they did was horrible. Yes, somebody lost their life, and that should not be taken lightly. However, you have to kind of look at the person committing the crime and their age. They're children. They cannot foresee the consequences of their actions. Is it severe? Yes. Do I believe that this is the opportunity for, before the whole Criminal Justice Reform Act of 1994 or whatever, the idea behind it was to make children who committed crimes, to teach them how to behave in a more how to be active participants in society rather than a menace, right?
Hmm.
So how do you justify, I don't see the opposite. How do you justify sending somebody who's 15 or 17 away for the rest of their lives for something yes, it was horrible. Yes, it was. And yeah, unfortunately, we've all seen it now. I didn't want to watch it, but you have to turn that autoplay bullshit off before you realize what you're watching. Throw it at me, Ed. I'm not seeing where the kids.
From where I understand this, though, they're going to completely walk away from this with almost next to nothing, which I don't necessarily agree with because they killed a person.
Well, I don't agree with that either. I think a juvenile detention center is warranted, but I don't think it should be forever.
Yeah. So we're somewhere in the line between where some of the hardliners are and where DC is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're gonna walk away from this one though. You remember the Evergreen in the Suez Canal, the saga of the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Well, two more tankers did the same thing, but they were cleared out pretty quickly at this point here. Two Aframax tankers ran aground in the Suez Canal. Looks like they ran aground. They were able to be cleared within a couple of hours, and they were pulled into the lake. There's an adjoining lake to that to be checked for damage. But is it time to actually look into the Suez Canal and what we can do to open it back up at this point?
Why would we do that? I mean,
This is twice in a month.
It makes for great, comedy and shit to talk about. It's getting ridiculous. Yeah, I think it's beyond time. Don't you find it funny though that it was like evergreen on the thing, and that's like the hashtag for like it never goes away. Hashtag evergreen tweet. I just found that hilarious. I maybe it's just me.
The Kentucky unemployment system is shutting down for several days to offset massive fraud. So, Kentucky is taking several drastic measures to deal with the onslaught of fraud hitting the unemployment insurance system, including shutting down the system to users for several days. Amy Cubbage, the governor's general counsel, who's been overseeing the state's Office of Unemployment Insurance, detailed the new steps Kentucky is taking to fight back against sophisticated attacks from fraudulent entities. Basically, what happened out of this story is people figured out they could get a bunch of free money from the government, and they started getting free money from the government.
Well, a lot of people, their like legitimate claims, their accounts were getting hacked and all that stuff. So people are going to have to, re-enroll and reapply and all that stuff. Which, if you're on unemployment, in most states, you're supposed to be actively looking for work. So it doesn't seem to me like it should be that big of a deal to re-enroll. I mean, it's just another step to take, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as the people, yes, the people are trying to get free money out of the government, but there are a lot of legitimate claims, and a lot of people that aren't getting their money. Other people are getting their money because they're being hacked into. I think it's a good move, and that's all I can say about that.
I think you shouldn't depend on the government to take care of you because they suck at it.
Well, they do. That's a very good point. They're the shittiest parents, aren't they?
They are. Speaking of parents, the new Utah law requires dads.
Everybody out
autoplay.
here chanting and screaming.
Shut up. Nobody likes you. New Utah law requires dads to pay prenatal child support. Out of ABC News. I didn't realize that this wasn't a thing until this past week.
Well, you don't have a uterus.
Biological fathers in Utah will be legally required to pay half of a woman's out-of-pocket pregnancy costs under a new law unique to the state that critics say doesn't do enough to adequately address maternal health care needs. The reason I didn't know about this is because this actually is the law in my state already.
Is it?
Utah appears to be the first state to mandate prenatal child support, according to the state's Planned Parenthood Association, and the bill's sponsor, but a few states, including Wisconsin and New York, have provisions that can result in fathers being financially responsible for pre-birth expenses. So, I thought that this was a thing the whole time through.
Oh, no. Trust me. Firstborn, I was a single parent. There is no. That was on me. Mm-hmm. However, I do like though that they're putting in the provision that paternity must be, if paternity's disputed, then they're not responsible until it's proven. So
yep.
Yeah. Otherwise,
I mean, we've all seen Maury. You can just throw out any claim you want and say, "This guy's the father," and then Maury comes out with a little card and says, "You are not the father."
Not the
There's
father.
Random dancing everywhere.
That's so sickening. That's why I stopped watching him. I can't believe him. God.
I have no network TV at all, so.
Well, I don't either, but yeah, that's just sickening. That whole idea. Keep going.
I got just a couple more here we got to get to before we get into the big news of the week. The CDC put out this image this week of how to go and get your vaccine. And the image looked mysteriously and strangely like the NPC Wojak. The NPC symbolizes a person who does not think for himself and is easily led and usually argues based on programming prompts rather than actual free thought or conversation. And I'm just sorry, but that is the funniest thing in the world and the most accurate depiction of the people who are advocating for you have to have the mandatory vaccine or everybody in the world will die.
Okay, look, it's funny. It's just a freaking drawing, but yes, it's hilarious the way people have run with it on the NPC. I'll give you that one. It's hilarious what has come of it. Would I have immediately thought, oh, that's the NPC me? No. But can I unsee it now? No. It's ridiculous. But CDC, do you remember years ago, the CDC put out this thing about how to protect yourself against STDs, and it was I can't remember the whole thing. I wish I had my laptop in front of me, but it was basically talking down to people. Like, people are so stupid they can't think for themselves. So it's kind of appropriate in that respect. Shit, I wish I could remember it, but it was about premarital sex and how to protect yourself. People are too stupid to go buy a condom or birth control, but they have a history of I guess it's fitting. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, you teased a bit about this earlier, but the BLM co-founder Patrice Kahn-Cullors went on a $1 million real estate buying binge. So it looks like she has racked up 4 high-end homes for $3.2 million in California, which for $3.2 million, isn't that like a 2-room shack?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like barely a 2-bedroom walk up in Manhattan.
Well, she's got these 4 properties at $3.2 million, and then she's also looking at beachfront apartments in Nassau that go between $5 million and $20 million, according to a local agent off of that. I wonder where she's getting all that money from, and I wonder how much of that is going back to the Michael Brown family.
Well, it's interesting, and I did read some of the stuff you sent me. I did read, some of the money came from her negotiating certain. Fuck it, I don't know. Again, follow the money. If the people at the top, what are they doing with that money, and how have they? Black Lives Matter was a good idea. But the execution, who is benefiting? Is the community benefiting? Is the Black Guns Matter? I mean, that's something good. I like that group. That's a good place to donate. But Black Lives Matter, you're right. Where's the money going? Obviously, who's the second in command? How are they living?
Well, the other thing that goes along with the thing with BLM is the fact that they're going out to they're making these massive capitalistic ventures of buying property all around the place worth millions of dollars, and they came right out and said in the beginning that they are trained Marxists, which goes right on to show what socialism actually does. The people at the top get really, really rich, and everybody else gets crumbs.
It's so funny you said that they're buying all these properties. It reminds me of the Scientology, The Aftermath. Have you ever watched that with Leah Remini? When they get their tax exempt status, they go out and buy all these properties that nobody's in, but it reminded me of that. Sorry.
All right.
I'm a talker and I tangent. Sorry.
All right. We got just a couple more to do here. And I just closed down the show notes, but I still know what's going on here. So I'll get that fixed in a second. But while we're doing that, the Supreme Court has erased a ruling against Trump over his Twitter account. The justices vacated the decision from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals and sent it back to the lower court with instructions to dismiss the case as moot or no longer active because Trump is a private citizen. So this goes back to the fact that the Supreme Court came out and ruled that Trump couldn't block anybody on Twitter because it's a public platform and he is the president, so the people should have access to this. But that kind of fucked the other conversation over about whether or not Twitter can throw people off because they're platforming politicians who should have access to these people, or who the people should have instant access to.
Yeah. How's that work? It's so interesting.
I don't know. We haven't seen the end of it, but that was completely nuts of the fact that happened.
But can I just say, my favorite part is that he never tweeted under POTUS at POTUS. He always tweeted under his private account, and they blocked that one.
Yep. Though they kicked him off POTUS too. So.
Well, but you know what I'm saying. He tweeted under Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
So.
Last one that I have here: the saga of David Hogg and his competitive pillow company has come to an end. David Hogg is resigning from Good Pillow, that they can't actually use the name of because it's trademarked to somebody else.
Oh, darn. Did anybody else not see this coming?
Hogg has cited the fact that he cannot focus on the pillow company and his education at Harvard and his March for Our Lives activism, so he had to turn everything over and sell all his shares of Good Pillow LLC, and he is walking away from this. Somebody else trademarked the name, and they're actually selling pillows under the Good Pillow LLC name, and it's going to trademark court. But yes, David Hogg is walking away from it completely. Take the L and go.
That's probably the smartest thing this kid has ever done since, he became a thing after that unfortunate tragedy. But since he first opened his mouth in front of a camera, that's probably the smartest thing he's done. Just go to Harvard, dude. Get your degree and go do something stupid.
All right, I'm going to check in with the live chat here for a second. We're going to go talk about Chauvin for a bit. We're already on the clock because the lightning round, especially when we get something breaking at the beginning, always takes forever. It's not really lightning anymore, but Unsatiable 1776 says get red for non-riot riots. I don't know what you mean by that. He also says, "Goddamn George Floyd and his pill addiction." Well, we'll be talking about that in just a second. Seawall says a guy was wanted for illegal possession of a firearm. You can be pulled over for hanging anything in the rearview mirror as it can possibly obstruct your view. That is a state-to-state thing because you can actually do that in Wisconsin. It's they can't pull you over for it.
Just saying.
You can, let's see. They shot him dead for diving back into the car and trying to run. Seawall also says airline pilots have crap hours as well. Silence also says at least 80% of trans kids effectively grow out of that and tend to be homosexual. I don't know the science that goes
I'd
along
love
with
to
that.
see the data, but go ahead.
Let's see. Seawall says, but their parents should bear some or most responsibility. I think he was talking about the DC
I
incident.
agree. I agree.
Ben Wild is joining us. He says, I pulled my usual Kamala, taking care of things on the border lollygagging move. Ben Wild also says, apparently one of the properties is in Topeka Canyon, though. So that's what we have going on right now. Let's circle back to see if anybody else comes and pops in for the rest of the show. It's a slow night, but there's no Elaine tonight, so I know they come here for her. They don't like me that much.
Well, thanks a lot. Just messing.
All right, we got to talk about the Chauvin trial a little bit here. So this has been an interesting thing to watch because I know what the prosecution is trying to do with this, and I've been watching this throughout the week. First off, this past week, the first week really focused on getting the emotional appeals and the people who were down on the scene at the time. The second week shift to the drug use. They talked about what was going on in Floyd's system, what he was on, what he wasn't on. Could he possibly have died from the drug overdose? The medical experts have all agreed that he couldn't at this point, which I don't buy for a second. But one of the big things that I took away from this, and I actually went on a little rant on this on Wednesday when I was reading into this, was innocence versus guilt off of this. Now, one of the witnesses is actually being called back as a defense witness coming back up because he came right out and said that Chauvin could have used a lot more force than he did. And it would have been completely legal for him to do so because of the situation, the fact that George Floyd was resisting. So, he could have executed taser, he could have possibly fired rounds. There were a lot of other things that, in the particular situation with what we saw from the full body cam, Derek Chauvin could have done. So the one witness came out and pretty much said that, yeah, they don't condone the particular move, but he could have done more. Which throws a big wrench at everything else that's happening off of this. And honestly, I look at this. I look at what's coming out of Minneapolis right now. The fact that the TikToker came up and said, well, if you don't get the verdict that we want, we're going to burn. And I know that the prosecution is trying to plant the idea that Chauvin is guilty until proven innocent. And the defense has to prove his innocence. But that's not how court works.
Right.
And I know that my libertarian audience has some problems with the police. I am a car guy. I have problems with the cops. I know what it means when you see those white headlights behind you with the amber in the middle, I know what that means. I know what the rush goes along with that, and I know how the police are. But Chauvin is a private citizen at this point, and is being tried as such. He's not being tried as a member of the Minneapolis Police Department. In fact, the Minneapolis Police Department has turned their back on him, and the blue wall of silence has collapsed. They're throwing his ass under the bus. But if they throw him in with a guilty until proven innocent kind of defense, what does that mean for the rest of us? Are the rest of us in the world guilty until proven innocent, or is that just held for agents of the state at this point? There's a lot going on with this. What have you seen on this trial so far?
Well, honestly, Ed, this isn't new. As soon as social media became a thing and the videos have gone out there, people have been guilty until proven innocent. This is not new. I am not going to say whether I'm not going to say, I'm not on the jury. It's not my place to judge him. But that's where we've been. I don't think this is new. I think this is a lot, it's in more headlines. But yeah, guilty until proven innocent is where we have been for a while, since, our phones have had the capability to immediately record and immediately upload to, for the entire world to see, because the argument is you cannot refute video evidence. But you can. I'm not saying that, again, I'm not going to pass judgment either way on this particular thing. I'm just saying that without, the body cam footage, the video, the 9.5 minute video of the bystanders, while you add the body cam footage to it, it adds another perspective. You add the footage from the store, it adds another, there are a lot of factors at play. Mm-hmm. But ever since our phones became what they are, immediate video, immediate upload, immediate access to the world, we are there. We've been there, guilty until proven innocent. And if, God forbid, you're proven innocent, they'll come at you with a civil suit. Mm-hmm. Or trash your house, burn your house down, threaten your family. It's, even if you are proven innocent, you're not innocent in the eyes of the masses. So
we're going to see a lot of that with this particular trial as well. I honestly think that he's going to walk because he was overcharged. And somebody in my live chat this morning actually pointed out the fact that this was third-degree manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. Mm-hmm. But that's not one of the charges that's put up. He's got second-degree manslaughter, but not third-degree. So reckless endangerment, but not unintended homicide. Basically, right. Wrong place at the wrong time, essentially. But the murder 2 and murder 3 require intent, which as many sad, teary eyes as the prosecution has brought forward, they have yet to show me intent. I don't see intent out of this. Anywhere.
Look, I agree. Negligence, 100%. Mm-hmm. No, well, obviously no. I don't see intent anywhere.
The negligence is going to come on to
humanity, maybe, but yeah.
The negligence is going to come from which ME's report comes and gets used, because there are 2 conflicting ME's reports out there. One shows the asphyxiation as the cause of death, and the other one shows the drug overdose essentially as the cause of death. Heart disease based on drug interaction. So it's going to come down to which one of those comes back up. But either way, there's reasonable doubt on that too. I think he's going to walk. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you see me anymore? Is it too dark?
It's getting dark. I was going to ask you if you needed to pop a light on quick.
We'll pop a light on right quick.
All right. I'm going to keep going off of this because one of the other things that came out of this, and I loaded this up because, was Shoe on Head brought this tweet out in reaction to something that Crowder did. So she's got the images because Crowder decided that he wanted to actually act out and show what happened to this and the fact that you could actually possibly still breathe if you were sitting in this position. Shoe on Head tweets out with this. What a fucking ghoul. And then she also points out the differences in the body positioning of the producer that was kneeling on Crowder versus Chauvin. But she didn't point out, and I'm not going to go to the end of the video where it shows that, but she also didn't point out the fact that they were changing the positions. They were continually trying to adjust to make this as close to the original thing as possible. And, I mean, Crowder was talking the whole time, regretfully. But he was. Let's have a look at what actually that looked like in the video here. Let's get this up.
Okay, I really have to pee too, so.
Do you?
So let me know when you guys are ready to start.
All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
Yep.
He's got to pee. How do you think George Floyd felt?
Stop it.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, hold on a second. They didn't say they started the timer.
We're ready when you
ready?
are.
And 3, 2, 1.
Okay, all right. So
Timer
Neil.
down.
Neil.
Kneel on my neck here, shoulder.
Oh, pause the timer.
Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
There we go.
All right, now I'll roll it back.
It's actually more uncomfortable for me is because I have a bad shoulder. So my left shoulder right now is popped out of the socket. But
It's 5 seconds in and you don't like it.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
of course
no,
I
of
don't.
course.
Already complaining.
Hey, you know what, Dave? Sometimes you deserve to be arrested.
That's true.
He's specifically meaning you, Dave.
No,
I think
my response is agreement.
I think they were lower on the legs there, Brendan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think they were more like on the hamstring area.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. So uncomfortable position for sure. It's supposed to be a restraint. Stephen, can you talk to us a little bit? Can you breathe?
Yeah, no,
just
I
fine?
can talk to you. I have more of a spasm in my neck because my neck's been sore for a couple of days.
Okay.
Like I said, what really hurts is my left shoulder just because of a nagging shoulder injury and the fact that Tokunawan put the cuffs on my forearms, not on my wrist.
Again, he did that?
Yeah, he put them on perpendicular
He did it on
to
purpose.
where my wrist goes as opposed to actually putting them. So he made it needlessly unpleasant. Thanks for that, Tokunawan.
Is this how he was cuffed then? Do we have it properly?
I think it was properly. Well, I think what he's saying.
So that's all that I'm going to play off of that because it's Crowder and we don't need to listen to him. And I don't care for Steven Crowder that much. I really don't. But they're in the position. And as of the video that we're looking at, Tokunawa is in a different position. But they did, throughout the video, because I listened to the whole thing and then I went back and watched it back again. And they did adjust to make this as authentic as they possibly could to what was going on with Floyd at the time. Reasonable doubt enough. I don't know if you consider that to be reasonable doubt or not, but it's reasonable enough at this point, in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't see a Steven Crowder reenactment as reason. I mean, I don't see that as anything. But what I can tell you is, I've viewed the video as in a position of. I used to be in security at a hospital, and we had a lot of drug overdose people. It took a lot of us to restrain. Assist the medical staff to get the patient in restraints. But one of the things that catches my eye in the video, the original video of Derek Chauvin, is he's got his hand in his pocket, on the pocket of the knee that is on, George Floyd, which if you try to do that, I've been unsuccessul in recreating where the pressure is on the knee of that's on his neck. Mm-hmm. I've been unsuccessful in recreating that. I'll just put it that way. For me, the pressure, my weight has always been on the opposite knee. The knee that's not on the person that I'm trying this on. But no, I don't. Okay, that was cute, Stephen. But does that create reasonable doubt? No. Would perhaps some police officers recreating that or medical? I mean, I don't know. I can't really speak to that, but either way, asphyxia, we all kind of pretty much die of that, cardiac arrest, right? I mean, when your heart stops, that's pretty much how we all die. But I don't know. For me, this is like a perfect storm. Would he have been in that position had he not been on drugs? No. Would Derek Chauvin had to use whatever means he did? No. Would he be dead? I don't know. But he could have gone, and as you said before, some people say he could have used more force, but it would have been different force, and he didn't. He did what he did. Either way, when somebody's telling you they can't breathe and they're on their stomach, it's just a bad idea to leave them on their stomach in handcuffs. They're restrained.
Well, one of the other things that came out, this actually came from the prosecution. I was surprised. I would have thought that this would have come from the defense, is a recording from the body cam with Floyd uttering some words. Now, if you listen to this, it's a Yanny Laurel kind of thing where one person can hear it one way and another person can hear it another way. I've heard it both ways. It's either the prosecutor and the defense have both said that it was Floyd saying that he ate too many drugs or I ain't on no drugs. So I'm going to play this for you. I'm going to see if you can hear it
Cool.
through your phone and you can tell what's going on with that. Let's have a listen.
You hear what he said?
No, I couldn't make it out.
Does it sound like he says, I ate too many drugs? Listen again.
I can't make that out, no.
I can't make that out either.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, it is right on the lines where he's saying, I ate too many drugs or I ain't do no drugs.
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to. I can't tell.
And there was blood of Floyd found in the police cruiser, along with several pills that were found with Floyd's DNA on them. Now, I'm not sure how admissible that last part can be because apparently, according to court documents, the pills with Floyd's DNA on them were found in a reprocessing of the squad car, so they didn't find them on the first pass, which also bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, that would bother me a lot. There are so many things that unanswered questions for me, just because I don't want to be exposed to the video more than is necessary. It's traumatic to watch, and I have a visceral reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are several things that bothered me about that. I wouldn't think that would be admissible in court after a second. You find something after the original search. If you find it later, I wouldn't think that would be admissible. But answer me this if you can. If you can't, that's fine. When the paramedics arrived on scene, what happened?
From what I can understand, they picked Floyd up and they dumped him in the back of the ambulance and drove him off, and then started doing the resuscitation en route instead of trying to do CPR on the ground. Which, given the agitation of the crowd, actually I understand.
I get that, but nobody checked for a pulse, right?
No, they were trying to get him out of the tense situation. No, nobody, when he was on the ground, checked him for a pulse. That is correct.
Right. Yeah, which I understand. When paramedics arrive on scene, that's kind of when the police need to kind of form a barrier, get the crowd back, because when your heart stops, you have a very small window of time, right, before brain death occurs from asphyxia, lack of oxygen to the brain. And so time is kind of the essence here. And you hear these people talking about how, they just watched the breath, leave his body and things like that. So a lot of this bothers me, and I understand the point of the paramedics getting him out. But Narcan, is that a thing? Was that even administered? Narcan?
Not as far as I know. Like I say, I'm positive that they just dumped him into the ambulance and got him out of there as quick as they could.
Exactly. I think that there are a lot of things from a lot of different people that could have been done differently. I think that was a cluster from many aspects. But do I think that, I don't think that Derek Chauvin intended to end the life of George Floyd. I don't think there's anything that would lead me to believe that.
Yeah, that's where we get the murder 2 and murder 3 is we don't have the intent.
Well, and if what's the prosecution trying to do here? Honestly,
get an emotional reaction out of the jury.
I understand, but the district attorney there, is that an elected official?
Ellison? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why would they charge you with something that you cannot possibly convict? This guy's going to be up for re-election. People are going to remember that. That was a dick move, honestly.
Well, it's Keith Ellison. What do you expect?
I don't expect. I just, I try to think of it from whatever. Nothing makes sense anymore.
Well, in spite of everybody saying that all cops are bastards, now Biden also wants to take away all of your guns.
Uh-huh.
So,
we all
reading,
lose in boating accidents. So.
yeah, there's that. Reading from CNBC, Biden says gun violence in the U.S. is an epidemic, unveils executive actions, and calls for a national red flag law. So it looks like he has come up with about 6 executive orders. A lot of them are surrounding the manufacture and sale of firearms. One of the executive orders, and this was so bad that CNN was fact checking Joe Biden, and CNN loves Joe Biden. One of the executive orders concerns whether or not gun manufacturers can be sued if somebody takes one of their items and uses it for a mass shooting. That's he says that they're the only industry that doesn't fall under those parameters, which is false, by the way. And I brought up the example of if I go down to Janesville and drink a whole bottle of whiskey at some bar somewhere and then bury my pickup in the local McDonald's, you're not going to sue Ford for what I just did.
Right.
So that's
maybe
just
the bartender, but yeah, no. That's God. He's so ridiculous. I feel really bad for the man.
a big part of the speech that he put on talked about ghost guns, lower kits that don't have a serial number, which I guess I've never bought a lower kit, so I didn't know that. But apparently lower kits don't have a serial number. I thought that they did, but I've been corrected and I was told that they do not. I was very adamant about that when I was talking about this on Thursday. I thought that lower kits had a serial number. However, lower kits and the so-called ghost guns, he was also talking about the 3D printing of guns and other machining services, which is legal, by the way. You can machine your own gun. You just can't sell it.
Right.
One of the big things that he brought up was red flag laws, trying to make a bill accessible to all the states so they can come out and all states can do a red flag law, recognize the fact that he can't do it federally because of the Second Amendment. And the other one that he talked about was the infamous gun show loophole, which, given the fact that my brother-in-law is a gun dealer and so is my dad's younger brother,
Oh yeah.
I've been to a few gun shows and I've never purchased anything with the loophole. In fact, every time I've wanted to purchase something, I've been told, okay, fill this out. We need to give you a background check. So I don't know what gun shows Joe Biden's going to, but I want to go to them.
Same Z's. You know what is so interesting, though, is, I mean, I feel like it's said over and over again, but it's worth repeating. Criminals buy guns illegally. They don't buy them through fucking gun shows and gun dealers. And, if you want to go do a mass, are you going to buy a traceable gun? No. I'm sorry, but this is just stupid. Okay, I feel like it's 1994. We've talked about 1984 enough. I feel like it's 1994 with the stupid crime bill that he fucking authored, sponsored, and helped get passed. Gun control does not control gun violence. I mean, it's violence. It's people. It's people. You can place all the restrictions that you want. All you're doing is making it difficult for people, law-abiding citizens, to protect themselves. But he doesn't understand what laws actually are in place at this point. How do you intend to fix a problem when you don't know what's already there to supposedly fix the problem in the first place?
Well, the thing that gets the one that's I've stuck on with this is the red flag laws off of this, because especially as somebody, I mean, look at what we're doing next Saturday. As somebody who's been suicide adjacent and understands the idea of what it could mean, life or death, when you can disarm somebody who is on the edge of something, I understand where they're trying to sell this all flowery language off of people. But the problem I've always had with it is who decides. And what happens when that person who decides suddenly says, oh, I don't like the way that your political opinion goes. I don't like that flag that's hanging behind you. Oh, you might be a danger to yourself. You better hand me over your guns.
That's kind of like, put any of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution up against that argument right there,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, who's to decide? Who is to decide? Because you and I have both had experiences, but far different life experiences led us to the same, well, not really destination, but to the same place mentally. But it, you're not there anymore. You haven't been there in however long, and people, I don't like what happened to HIPAA. I don't like, honestly, I don't like the government sharing my mental health, my physical health, or my any health information, period.
Oh, you mean you're not excited to go and put your medical records on an unsecured device that can be stolen out of your pocket and is about yay size?
I'm really not. I know it's hard to believe. I'm not. Yeah. That's one thing I've never understood about, look, one side, two sides, somewhere in the middle, there can be, you can come to an agreement if you have reasonable laws on the books for guns. Okay, I don't think that we should all be able to carry whatever, the M16s. I don't know what I'm sorry, I was never in the military, never had the privilege to serve. But whatever, machine gun type things, I'm against. That's me personally. That to me is common sense. There's the argument against tanks. I think it'd be pretty fucking cool to have a tank, but it's not really, a good idea for a lot of people. So, okay. But shit like that, the idea, what pisses me off is I am an advocate for the Second Amendment because I was terrified of guns and I educated myself. And so I've shot a pistol. I've shot a 22 9mm and an AR-15. And I can tell you that an AR-15 and an M16 are nothing alike. An AR-15 is just a high-powered 22, basically. If you're the short range target. Honestly, my 9mm made a bigger hole in the target than the AR-15 does. Did it make me feel badass? Fuck yeah. Is it going to maybe if you're a little bit closer, fine, but it's no more deadly than this if I want it to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like somebody. That's where I have a problem with it. Is who is to decide, and what if their agenda changes?
Well, Biden made an interesting point while he was giving this speech here, and including with the sign language interpreter, we can actually have a listen to what he had to say about this and how he feels about the Bill of Rights, I guess, essentially.
Dr. Jill Biden, who cares deeply about this issue as well. And I look out there and I see so many members of Congress who've led in this fight. So many of you who've never given up. So many of you are absolutely determined, as Murphy and others are, to get this done. We got a long way to go. It seems like we always have a long way to go. But also today we're taking steps to confront not just the gun crisis, but what is actually a public health crisis. Nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about. But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. We call it freedom of speech.
I love the fact he was about to say, you can't yell crowd in a fiery theater.
Okay, Joe. How many people make that argument though? And they have no clue where it came from. God bless Molly, Moretti. I don't know her at.
I'm guessing it's the woman I took this tweet from, actually.
Is it
pointing
Molly?
out the fact that, yeah.
Yeah. That the law was kind of the arrest was some guy handing out pamphlets, and the judge made the comparison to like, well, it's not, just like you shouldn't yell out fire, and it was overturned.
Yeah.
Even if that was the law, which it was not, nobody ever made that. It was just some comparison. It was still overturned because
Yeah, that was the dissenting opinion.
Come on.
But Posobiec actually took this to the most extreme point that he possibly could off of this. Charlie Spearing tweets out, Biden, no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. And Jack Posobiec, in all of his Jack Posobiec goodness, retweeted that with, Biden just put slavery back on the table.
Oh, Jesus.
Because the 13th Amendment wouldn't be absolute.
So
Correct.
this is what I'm talking about when I say, when we, like with the procedures on minors and stuff, when you open a door, you have no idea to where it will lead. Is Posobiec like basically Crowder? Yeah.
Yeah.
But where's the lie? Honestly, though, if you think about it, where's the lie? Because if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If it's good for one, why not the other? We're trying to infringe on freedom of speech. Let's go ahead and do the freedom of the right to bear arms. Where does it end? Where does it end? Once you open that door, it's hard to close. I mean, was that a horrible thing to say? 100%. Where's the lie, though?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's...
Come on now.
I criticize Posobiec for making the worst reading possible of that particular statement. But if DeSantis or, God forbid, the Orange Dictator said the same thing, you can better bet that that's what everybody would be saying. Oh, it's a dog whistle, all those white supremacist fans, and he wants to make everybody slaves again. Biden himself said, come on, man, Mitt Romney wants to put y'all back in chains.
Well, and if you didn't vote for him, you're not black, so...
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we can't even get into the double standard. We do the double standard, too. Let's just be honest. Our side has a double standard just as everybody has it. Everybody's a fucking hypocrite. Can we just be honest for a second?
Well, I can't say our side because I don't have a side. I'm just sitting back here with a tub of popcorn.
We're on the same side here, brother. We talk about we start some fires and we fuel them, but you have to kind of look at it that way. It sucks that somebody had to say it. I'm glad it was him, but it kind of sucks that it was him because he's an inflammatory guy. I kind of wish somebody more even-tempered had said it, because where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants slavery. That bad idea, 100%. Nobody should be owned by another human being. But if you open this one door, where will it lead?
Yeah.
And how far gone will we be? Will we be able to prevent, more badness?
David Chipman also got into the news with this entire thing because the day before that, Biden announced that he would be forwarding David Chipman, who, let me make sure I get this right, he is going to be the director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. He penned a January 24th opinion article declaring the Constitution's Second Amendment envisions firearms as being well regulated.
Yeah.
So he's coming out here talking about the fact that we need to regulate everything as much as we can. What did he do before this? Because he actually was in a position of power, I believe. The Newsweek article doesn't tell me. What's that?
Wasn't he in Waco?
Yeah, he was adjacent to Waco. I don't know enough about that to opine on it.
Yeah.
I know that Elaine did. That's why I put it in the notes for that, because she actually knows a lot more about that specifically. Mm-hmm. But I don't know enough about that to opine on to where his role was in Waco.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. Say it again. A well-regulated militia, right?
Yep.
So our weaponry needs to be well regulated.
Which I disassemble, clean, and oil my guns often. They're well regulated.
But what was the whole idea behind the Second Amendment was to keep the government, to be able to defend yourself against the government. Well, I don't want the government regulating anything of mine.
Yeah.
I understand. I really do. I understand the other side of it because I'm one of two conservatives in my entire family. Well, conservative-tarian, whatever. I'm without party. But I have some staunch liberals in my family. I've heard the other side of it, and I understand the other side of it. I do. We're reactionary. And this is like, the golden ticket that's being sold. Well, if we just regulate the guns, everything will be fine and there'll be peace and we can live in our utopia.
Just one more law, I promise. That'll be the last one.
Yeah, just one more law. But I mean, when you present like cold hard facts, they don't, I don't want to say they like it's some group of people. People don't have the ability to challenge themselves anymore, to challenge their own way of thinking, right? Like, oh my God, what was his name? Thomas Sowell, right? Dave Rubin had him on his show, and he said that, when he was a youth, he was a Marxist, and he said, well, of course, because that was the only message being out there. And he said, what brought you out of that? And he said, facts, right? But Thomas Sowell, yeah, he's an intelligent man who did a lot of reading and was able to see facts, was able to challenge his own opinions. But society as a whole, we don't have that. We input, right? We take it in, we react to it, period. And then that's how whatever our perspective is never changing. We stick to that. And it's hard to get anything accomplished because media, government, everything is just reinforcing that. They are against you. We are for you. So, critical thinking's not a big thing anymore.
No. Well, during the speech, when he was presenting Mr. Chipman to be the new director of the ATF, Biden made another little mistake, and not only did he do it once, he did it twice. Let's see if you can spot the mistake. Let's have a listen.
Today, I'm proud to nominate David Chipman to serve as the director of the AFT. David knows the AFT well. He served there for 25 years. And Vice President Harris and I believe he's the right person at this moment for this important agency.
So what's the AFT?
Hey, I wonder if the American Federation of Teachers is pissed off.
Well, how come it's not the ATFE now? If there
That I don't know.
Yeah. Come on. Where's that bill? I'll sign that. I'll sign that petition. Put the E on there if you're going to include it. Listen, I really am not going to dog. I can't dog on his gaffes. I can't. Look, I deal with senior citizens. I work with senior citizens. I have a lot of respect for people later in life. I myself have neurological disorders and find myself saying things that don't quite make sense. So I can't do it to them in gun conscience. But yeah, I've never heard of the AFT before. This is why I say I feel bad for him. We elected President Kamala Harris because I don't believe that Biden's going to serve out his full term. And I don't say that in an ableist, in an ageist, in any kind of ist way, just from my observations and dealing with the senior citizen community, the aging community. I feel bad for him. I do. And I would really encourage his. They talk about Donald Trump not following a script and going off. He really should just read what's on the prompter to avoid all this. I mean, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in all sincerity, because this is really it's not okay what's happening with him. I don't like to make fun of. Yes, he's the president. Yes, he has it coming, but I really just feel sorry for him at this point. Sorry.
Well, with that, we've got to talk a bit about some of the other things that are coming out of the Biden administration, including, well, let's just read what she had to say. And when I put the tweet up on the images, I actually included something else that my friend tweeted under, which if you've ever actually met Freckled Liberty, she is nothing like this in real life, by the way. I want to point that out because I have met her in real life. Well, not in real life, but we've talked, and she's been on Ed's World before, back when it was still Ed's World, and she is nothing at all like what you're about to see from this tweet that we're going to have up here. So Gillibrand tweeted out, "Paid leave is infrastructure. Childcare is infrastructure. Caregiving is infrastructure." To which Freckles tweeted back, well, she's also changed her name to Freckled Infrastructure, by the way, but she tweeted, "LMAO, bitch, no they aren't."
I love her. She is probably one of my favorite follows, and she's the sweetest thing. Her, pronouns are no you or whatever, but she's the sweetest thing. I can't imagine what she's like in real life, but it's kind of like with me, because I'm just such a perv online, right? Because that's just not part of my natural life. So I think we're all a little bit different, but God, do I love her. Do you know, I was in Central New York. I'm born and raised in Central New York, and Gillibrand was there speaking while I was there. I had no clue she was there. I managed to avoid her the whole time. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know she was there until I saw the news the following morning. I was like, wow, there was no big crowd formed or anything, whatever. I get her confused with cinema sometimes because I'm actually Kristen Cinema and Joe Manchin, I'm actually really starting to like and agree with a lot. But yeah, Gillibrand is thank you. Next. That's my son's favorite song, and he would, yeah. Thank you.
Well, just to go back on the infrastructure, we're looking at they're not even trying to hide the ball. Gillibrand kind of said the quiet part out loud with this, because she pointed out the fact that they're making an infrastructure bill that only has like 5% of the funds going into roads, bridges, and infrastructure. And the rest of it is a massive progressive wish list to try and cement their power, to change some of their spending patterns and voting laws, but they're trying to get it in because they only get 3 budget reconciliations this Congress. They normally only get 2, but they get 3 this time because they didn't make a budget reconciliation or pass a budget in 2020. So the Commie Coof relief bill was actually a 2020 reconciliation bill. So now they're going to try and put this one in as budget reconciliation, so they don't have to get any Republican support, and they can pass it with simple majority, with Kamala Harris being the tie, and then that's all they're spending, and then nothing else.
It's Kamala. Damn it! Say it. Say her name. It's Kamala. Sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, I actually wanted to see what you had to say about the fact that they're trying to cram all this shit through, including like childcare and healthcare and paid time off, and like their big wish list.
Yeah,
they tried to throw the minimum wage into this one again, even though they got their cock slapped on it the first time.
Okay, so let me lay it down to you like this. I agree with Miss Freckles. None of that shit has to do with infrastructure, okay? Having just driven 650 miles one way and then back again, the roads, God, interstates, right? Constantly under construction. Constantly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an infrastructure. If you want to fix something, I mean, let's focus that childcare that's a personal, that's not public, that's personal, right? Childcare. Yeah. That's not fucking infrastructure. That has nothing to do. I get really pissed off because there are people that just, the well-to-dos want to do for others, and oh my gosh, these poor people need to, that they're not even paying attention to what they're supporting. If you have a kid that has nothing to do with a fucking road, bridges, whatever the hell. I'm getting a little bit angry. I should probably stop talking. But no, I'll just leave it at that. I'm with freckled liberty, freckled infrastructure at this point. No, bitch, that is not what it is. That's your own shit to deal with. Fix my road, for fuck's sake. For once and for all, just fix my roads. Toll them if you have to. I'm fine with tolls.
Well, I know when we talk about what's going on with this, and maybe calling it even newspeak at this point, Pelosi and Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders is on the Senate Financial Committee, which figured that one out, are trying to move this now into being it's human infrastructure is what they're dealing with.
Of course it is, because we have to humanize everything. The roads need to be humanized, Ed.
Well, what I'm telling you is that we need to make sure that we have the people, because the people are the assets of the new order that we have going on.
You suck at that. I'm just going to say work on it. That's all I'm just going to say at that. Why must it listen? Carrie, I can't. I'm gonna reserve my plead the fifth on that. I can't do this anymore. It's so ridiculous. Was this your crazy ridiculous? This wasn't even it, was it?
No, I've got 2 surprise stupidity left at the end of the show here.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Well, with this, we're also looking the filibuster we talked about, and that's a part of the reason they're trying to jam this stuff in, is because Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are both standing strong and stalwart on keeping the filibuster. In fact, Manchin actually came out and said the reason that he's staying so stalwart rather on the filibuster, try to say that 10 times fast, is because he's reminded of what happened at the Capitol Selfie Fest. It's not really an insurrection or riot when the Capitol Police let you in, and all you do is you don't take over the government, you just do one of those. But he's stalwart on that because, like I said from the beginning, when I started talking about the filibuster, you really want to try to sell this to the other side instead of jamming it down their fucking throat. And if your agenda is so great that you need to jam it down somebody's throat rather than selling it to them, then your agenda fucking sucks. I'm sorry.
Oh, 100%. 100%. This is the whole thing. Is this not why we formed a new nation, a constitutional republic, so that it wasn't mob rule? The simple majority didn't, right? You had convince me. You're right. Mm-hmm. Convince me. We're not going to just say, okay, well, I've got the votes. Let's, fuck you. You're done. Sell me, because I've got constituents to answer to, and bravo to Sinema and Manchin both. I can't tell you how much I'm really starting to like Kyrsten Sinema. I really am. A lot of the shit that's coming out of her mouth, some of it's still out there, but a lot of the shit that's coming out of her mouth or on her tweets or whatever the fuck. I've had a little boozy boo. Is starting. I mean, I agree with her. And she's much more of a moderate than I expected her to be. And I think, honestly, once she was able to fill her seat, not as a lesbian or bisexual, whatever the hell she is, not as her her sexual identity. Once she was able to fill her seat as an elected official, I think she's doing pretty well. And I think she's finding her place, Not just going to the crowd.
And in that same vein, now, too, the Supreme Court is back under attack at this point. Because Joe Biden came out this week. Let me see if I want to actually find an article and make sure that I get this right as well. Yes, here it is. The one from Reuters. We'll use that one. Because Reuters is reporting that Biden forms a panel to study the possible U.S. Supreme Court expansion. So he's not expanding right now, but he's making an exploratory committee to decide whether, and that's not the only option that's on the table. The option is on the table to expand the Supreme Court, but they're also keeping the option open to possibly put term limits on, possibly change the way the judiciary goes, possibly put in an amendment to rotate lower court judges up onto the Supreme Court and rotate Supreme Court justices out to lower courts. He's exploring options right now at this point.
Uh-huh. Well, let me tell you what I have to say about that.
What's up?
So the rotating of the judges thing, I'm assuming it would be appointed judges only.
Mm-hmm.
Not because in some places judges are elected, right?
No, it's just going to be federal courts, I'm guessing, because they're
Federal,
appointed.
okay. They're appointed. Cool. So I'm okay with term limits, but here's the deal. If we're going to, we both, sorry, I keep saying both. Neither one of us is really on a side. We're just individuals, but we all have to stop thinking of the judiciary as a legislative branch. If we want to sell the other side on the fact that the judiciary is not a legislative branch. So, okay, the conservative side is, well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself said, that 9 is a good number. We should stay with that. It doesn't need to be expanded. Well, if he wants to expand it, okay, and put a few more and pack the court, okay, fine. But we're still led to believe they still have to go through that process, the Judiciary Committee confirmation process that we all so fervently watched the past few years. I mean, I don't care, honestly, if we expand the court, but I don't see that it's I mean, I guess I'm indifferent to it. It's just, people have got to stop, make up your mind. It's like, depends on who's in office. Is it a legislative branch or is it an independent judicial? Do they follow the law? Are they constitutionalists?
That's one of the things that I think they're going to try to do too, is they're going to try to make it into a partisan branch to fit somebody's partisan will. That's additionally one of the problems that I have with all of this going on here, is it wasn't supposed to be. And especially with expansion of the Supreme Court, this is not the time to do it, because it is going to be completely political until we have 101 justices on there, because, we kept appointing people to try and balance the court. Somebody actually tweeted, and I responded to it. It was in response to somebody saying that Biden just said he was going to pack the courts, and somebody said, "No, he didn't, you fucking idiot. He just said that he was going to balance the conservative majority. God, you're so dumb." And I looked back and I said, that doesn't raise alarm bells to you? Because you would be screaming to the high heavens if, like, DeSantis did something like that, or God forbid the Orange Man did something like that. You would be screaming about it forever, calling him a tyrant and a dictator.
Sure. Well, and I'm sorry, but I think that, especially Roberts and Gorsuch and at times Kavanaugh have proven that they don't always side with what we feel like they should side with. They side with the law, their interpretation of the Constitution. So that's what I mean by, we have to accept that judges are independent and follow the law. They're not political. And I'm opposed to anything that would make them anything other than that. But it's, you can put as many judges as you want in the Supreme Court, but if it turns into a political body, we've got a problem.
Well, the best part of this, and of all people to come out and talk about this, Harry Reid, who got himself slapped in the cock for doing just this. When he says you're going too far, you're going too far. Let's have a listen to what Harry Reid had to say to "Look at me, I'm Jim Acosta. Look over here, look at me."
Oh, shit.
Something sort of thought-provoking came out of the Biden administration this past week, and it didn't get a lot of attention because there's so much going on in the news. He's now created a commission to look at adding seats to the Supreme Court, other ideas that some progressives are pushing for. They want to see the court's conservative majority be balanced. Where do you stand on that? Do you think it's a good idea to add seats to the Supreme Court?
I think we should be very, very careful in doing so. I have no problem with the commission, but I think that the commission is going to come back and disappoint a lot of people because I think they're going to come back and say, we should just kind of leave it alone. I think it would be inappropriate at this time after that long history we've had in the country, have term limits for judges. I think that we better be very, very careful in saying that we need to expand the Supreme Court. I think we better be very, very careful.
Okay. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, I think some people might be surprised to hear you say that because you were definitely a fighter when you were in the Senate and like to take it to.
When Harry Reid says you've gone too far,
I think that maybe Harry Reid now has 20/20 hindsight and sees that his simple majority. Okay, fine. Well, guess what? It works for the other side too. But God, Jim Acosta. You remember who I'm talking about? What's his face? Look at me. Look at me.
Yeah, Tim.
Tim. God, I miss him. Because Jim Acosta is still the best parody on the planet. I'm afraid, that would surprise some people because you were pretty. What was he when he was in the Senate?
He was the majority leader.
Yeah,
before
when Jim
Schumer.
Acosta he was. Well, sure. Yeah,
I've actually made that mistake too because I thought it was Schumer that reversed the filibuster on judges, and somebody corrected me, and it was Reid. It wasn't Schumer. It was Reid that did it.
Well, yeah, I agree. If Harry Reid tells you you've gone too far, you've gone too far. I think he's got a much better vision of the consequences of one's actions than most people. So, good job, Harry Reid.
All right, we are up on the clock here. I've got a little bit of surprise stupidity for you, and then we're going to head out of here. And like I said, I got a twofer for you. Then we'll read some live chat, which looks like they're going pretty lively over there, and head on out of here for the day. So, number one, surprise stupidity. This just broke today. Otherwise, this would have been the main one, and I wouldn't have put the other one in there. The Navy has decided that they need a new logo. So, reading from the Daily Mail, China, Iran, and Russia are laughing at us. U.S. Navy is slammed for adding a mask to the eagle in the service branch logo.
I'm sorry?
The U.S. Navy has drawn criticism for updating its Twitter bio to depict an eagle wearing a face mask in reference to the coronavirus pandemic. The change to the Navy logo was spotted by Twitter users on Friday, drawing mockery and accusations that the nation's adversaries would be laughing at the update. The logo is a stylized version of the unofficial Navy emblem that dates back to the 70s, showing an eagle holding an anchor in its talons. The updated version depicts a blue mask covering the eagle's beak.
Okay. I mean, I get it. But come on. Okay.
One Twitter user wrote, "Why desecrate the U.S. Navy logo with a mask? It's a blatant show of weakness. China is laughing," one Twitter user wrote. So, yeah, that's stupidity number one.
Okay.
The other one just blew me, and I love the fact that you came here and helped me out, but I really wish Elaine was here for this one because she hates Woodrow Wilson more than anything else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this tangentially involves Woodrow Wilson. Not directly, but tangentially. Reading now from the Portland Tribune. Portland school fears Evergreen's mascot tied to lynching.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Yeah.
This is from Courtney Vaughn. The adoption of a new mascot for Ida B. Wells Barnett High School was put on pause after concerns about potential connotations with lynching. After adopting a new namesake earlier this year, the Southwest Portland High School also wants to ditch its Trojan mascot. A committee of comprised of students, staff, and community members suggested Evergreens as the school's new mascot, which would be understandable. You're in Portland. That's the kind of thing that you see over in Portland. Evergreens are characterized by the life-giving force of their foliage, the strength of their massive trunk, and the depths of their roots. In an individual tree, and as a forest of trees, Ellen Watmore, a teacher and mascot, committee member at Wells Barnett High School, said, reading from a resolution, "They provide shelter and sustenance. They have histories that preclude us and will continue in perpetuity after we are no more. But just before the Portland Public Schools Board of Education vote to approve the new mascot Tuesday, March 30th, Director Michelle DePass shared community concerns of an unwanted correlation between Ida B. Wells, the historic black activist and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who documented and crusaded against lynching, and a tree which could conjure up reminders of hanging people with ropes from branches.
Naturally.
Trees are racist.
Well, I mean, okay, so are we supposed to stop doing Christmas trees now too?
Maybe.
Evergreens remind me of like firs, you know, in the shape and all that stuff. And I would think of maybe hanging ornaments from them. I don't see the branches sustaining, you know, a human. What in the actual fuck, Ed? Trees are so racist. How dare they? How dare they?
Well, the best part of this is...
Let's cut them all down. How's that? Yeah, let's cut them all down and stop breathing.
We might get there at some point. The best part about this is Ida B. Wells High School just changed its name because up until, I believe it was last year, it was Woodrow Wilson High School.
Of course it was.
The most racist president we've ever had.
Yeah, I think Elaine probably would have been a much better co-host for this one. I view kind of all presidents as lessons learned, you know, and let's move on. Some had good, some had not so good. But wow, trees are racist.
Yeah, the name change is so recent in the stock photo in the article that I'm looking at right now. It actually still says Woodrow Wilson High School over the foyer.
Fucking Wikipedia, get on it.
No, this is from the local Portland newspaper. I don't use Wikipedia for this. This is from the actual newspaper in the area, the Portland Tribune.
Yeah, I was just joshing you. Regardless.
All right.
That was stupid. Go to the live chat. What do you got?
All right, let's see what these guys are doing over here. Holy shit, quite a bit. Seawall 728 says if Chauvin gets convicted, a large chunk of the PD will probably resign, leading to even more riots and crime. Ben Wild says reasonable doubt there's no bruising on the trachea, like that's the hallmark of choking. Ben Wild says also why is Floyd's drug dealer, who was president, not testifying because he's afraid he'll incriminate himself. Yeah, he's afraid he'll get third-degree murder.
Sure, I would be too.
For killing Floyd in the commission of a separate felony, which is third-degree murder. Seawall says he said he couldn't breathe well before he was on the ground. That is true. I've seen the full body cam footage of that.
You saw that in the car, sitting upright.
Ben says, right, Seawall. He was saying he couldn't breathe way before the knee was applied. That was reasonable doubt. Then he said, yes, they did that because of the crowd. We were talking about throwing him in the ambulance. Nephilim says, surely they planted those bloody pills.
Who's to say?
Seawall says, from what I understand, he still had a pulse, a weak one, in the ambulance. And then we're debating as to what the lower consists of. Seawall says a complete lower kit does have a serial number. An 80% bill does not. A lower receiver has a serial number. An 80% receiver does not have a serial. Nephilim says the same thing. Lower kits do. If you mill out an 80% complete, you manufactured it. I just buy my stuff off the shelf, so.
Yeah.
Ben Wild says, plus custom gun makers aren't required to serial number their firearms. They don't meet the production requirements. Yes, I believe that. I believe I did know that too. Like, if you get a custom piece that isn't mass manufactured,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Nephilim says you can buy lowers. It's the gun part that's tracked. They are sterilized. Lower kits bought completed have numbers. 80% do not because you are the manufacturer and cannot sell it currently. That's true too because if it's an 80%, then yeah.
There you go. Yeah, bazinga. I love when people know shit. That's great.
Well, yeah, that's part of the reason that I do this up with the live chat here, so that they can sit here and discuss this. I'm learning while I'm reading live chat here.
Yeah, great.
Ben Wild says, if they really want red flag laws, if you prevail on the hearing to get your guns back, the state should have to pay all legal fees and damages to the party they took the guns from. He also says, so Maryland passed red flag laws with the promise it was only used in extreme circumstances. Then, of course, the first 3 months of law, they used it over 100 times a month.
Huh. I like that guy.
He also says, it'll all be okay. Dr. Jill will bring us cookies and tell us we have to wear our masks.
Boom. There you go.
Ben says, I grew up on a farm. I'm not sure anyone told my dad that slavery was illegal. Yeah, I didn't grow up on a dairy farm, but I grew up working on somebody else's dairy farm, and I understand that entirely.
Please.
Hashtag party with Hunter. Seawall says he was the agent responsible for Waco.
Okay.
Nephilim says if Posobiec is inflammatory, then J. Edgar is anti-inflammatory.
That's beautiful. You're an NSAID, Ed.
Nice. I've got an M. Skirchner Oger in here, which that's a new name. Welcome on in. Well, interesting discussion, but being from Europe, I can tell you that gun regulation, not ban, works. It lowers the murder rates.
Well,
Seawall says, put me in charge of the world and I will fix everything.
I'm okay.
No.
I might consider it. This is the one that says all the things that I'm agreeing with, though, right? So
No, that's Ben Wild. That's not Seawall. That's Ben Wild.
My bad. Sorry, Ben.
Seawall wears the jackboots and the Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
Ben Wild says, trust the government and the media the same way you trust that toothless girl begging for the begging to be raw dogged behind the dumpster of the Applebee's.
I love you.
That is a colorful way to put that.
Ben, I'm my man. Okay.
Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru says it also increases tyranny rates.
Says what?
It also increases tyranny rates. They're probably talking about the gun ban stuff.
Yeah.
He also says, respectfully, Mr. Ogre, but from my cold, dead hands. Ben Wild says, come on, man. M. Skirchner Ogre says, back at Neff, well, that's part of the problem, believe it or not, but gun control takes away the guns of the criminals in the long run, but you have to sacrifice some things for it. It definitely will take longer in the U.S. because there are already so many illegal guns out there, but believe me, it works.
Okay.
Neff, who lives in California, says, I live in California. I have nothing but respect for your opinions, but I know of what I speak, sir. It doesn't here. Yeah, that's true, because California is the most draconian state in gun regulation, only narrowly over New York, and yeah, there's still guns everywhere in that state.
Nice.
M. Skircher says, so do I. Of course, this does not work if you just restrict it in one state. As long as you simply can buy it in the next state and bring it, let's say, to California, only works if done in the whole country. Well, that's also already a crime.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go over, like, I can't go to Illinois, well, I wouldn't go to Illinois to buy a gun, never mind. I can't just go over to Minnesota, buy a gun, and bring it over to Wisconsin. If I go over to Minnesota and buy a gun, the dealer in Minnesota sends it to my brother-in-law, and then I do the background check with him.
Yeah.
So what M. Skircher is describing is already illegal in this country.
Imagine that. People don't know the law? What?
Well, he's European, apparently.
Well, like I said. So,
Uh-oh. We lost connection briefly.
I'm here.
All right. Yep, everything's back up. Just making sure they don't get kicked off of YouTube.
Oh.
No, it looks like we're still moving over there.
Yeah.
Ben Wild says Maryland has some of the most restrictive regulations and the highest murder rates. It would seem that isn't the case. M. Skirchner says, as said, that won't work fast because there are already so many illegal guns out there. That's the problem the U.S. has. Nephilim says, yeah, all the gangs' guns that they don't go after are the illegal guns that are killing.
Thank you.
Apparently, M. Skirchner says that's because the U.S. waited far too long. The damage is already done, but it can be undone. It would just take longer in the U.S., for example, European countries.
We do not want to be European country. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we established that 240 years ago that we didn't want to be a European country.
I think we officially declared it, if I'm not mistaken.
Ben says, fuck Europe, you know the problem. The U.S. is founded on the freedoms and rights of the citizens, not the subjects to be ruled. M. Skirchner says, just for example, here it's incredibly difficult for a criminal getting a gun. 95% don't have one. Of course, law-abiding citizens had to sacrifice some guns for this, but it works.
It doesn't work if you have to sacrifice, honey. I'm sorry, but you don't get it. I'm sorry, Ed.
No, that he doesn't. Law-abiding citizens can still buy guns, but most of the criminals can no longer. They're not going to the store to buy them, dude. I hate to tell you that.
I mean, yeah.
The criminals can't buy guns here either. They get them by other means.
Who said that, Ben? Or you said that?
No, that was M. Skirchner said that.
Oh.
And then I commented back to him.
Yeah.
Ben Wild says, I'll let you slide because you called him Seawall. And then he will get last word, and I can't believe I'm going to use this as last word here. This is what we're going to close this out on. He says, you know what works fast? Eat a dozen apples and then chase it with a laxative.
Boom! Cheers, my friend.
All right. That is where we're going to end. Let's call it a night.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for coming by and hanging out and sitting in the right seat for a little while tonight as Elaine is dealing with some family emergency that I cannot disclose at this time, but will probably be coming out soon enough. So if you guys follow my wonderful co-host at LibertarianRed1 over on Twitter, make sure that you send a prayer her way. Just let her know that you don't know what it's for, but she definitely needs them right now. And if you want to follow my wonderful co-host for the night here, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at kinda ninjaful. You can look me up, some kind of ninjaful, like some kind of wonderful.
All right. And I want to thank everybody who came out and chatted in the live chat. Seawall, Ben Wild, even our friend from over in Europe, Nephilim Ninja, Nibiru, of course. Everybody who came by and checked out this program. If you want more of our stuff, you can go back and find us over after you bookmark the Freedom Scoop Media Group, freedomscoop.com. Go and check us out over there. You can find me on YouTube. That is youtube.com/JaredGurl101. You can find me on Twitter. That is at Edsblog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. Go and check me out over there. And you can find more conversation if you just can't get enough in the Guilded and Discord servers, linked in the description below, so come and join there. Those are always a whole bunch of fun. And hey, if you want to catch us back on demand, or you're just catching up now, you can find us back over on YouTube once it processes it over on BitChute.com. You can also find us on the audio platforms, Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. Go and check us out over there. And make sure you join us back on Saturday, the 17th, for 24 hours of live stream. We'll be playing some Stardew. We've got some great guests coming on. It's going to be a great time, and $2,500, and this dude gets a haircut right here.
Woo!
And, well, that's where we're going to lead everything out for you guys. Hope to see you guys tomorrow, 7:45 a.m. Central Time, for more contemporary. We'll just go over some news of the day and some headlines before we send everybody off to work. Come and have your morning coffee with me. And that's the last thing I always say is never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Linda, lead them out with the last word.
Love you, mean it. Bye.
Take care, everyone.